Good morning, all. Welcome to the Arctax Tourism Department meeting for August 21st. Gotta get this up. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting. Ms. Frazier, Mr. Weil. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. We're going to move right into Joanne.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Oh, yeah, my fault. I'm sorry.
I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to, explain my moral compass that's to my left. This is my granddaughter, and she's participating in government affairs today, what some people call politics. Her name is Eliana, and thank you so much for allowing her to attend.
Nice meeting you, and I hope you enjoyed this meeting. And if you have any questions, you raise your hand, and we'll try to answer them for you.
Okay.
All right. Joanne, you want to go ahead?
Okay. Welcome to the Tourism Committee. I have a mid-summer, late summer update on some things that are going on. Some of it might be fun for you to watch. So let's run through the PowerPoint. A couple of facts and figures to get us started. The July Smith trend just came in on Friday, and I do always go through the report and highlight some of the key comparisons from year to year. So I will do that and share it with the committee in another day or so. But just to take a look at the month of June was up a good percentage, and July not quite up as much, but still up for that month, and year to date up 6%. So just to put that into perspective, 6%, I went back and did the math, is 31,000 rooms. So it's an increase of 31,000 rooms over the same period in 2017. So that's a pretty good number. And within our peer set of Saratoga, Essex, Dauphin County, there are a couple of others, we are first in our peer set year to date. There are many other things that go into, how things are performing. I know Mike Swan has a report. I did check with DEC earlier in the year, and it might have been end of June, and the state campgrounds were up 5% at that point, so that's a good indicator, and I will check back again at the end of the summer to get a better reading on that. I think something for us to consider as we're moving forward with Smith Trend is that Legoland will open in 2020 down in Orange County. So we have 5 peers in our comp set, and we'll probably add one more just because there's a major amusement park down there, as this is with Hershey Park and Grace Gate here. So just other things to consider as we're moving along. Tourism Economics is a report that New York State commissions every year, and it's a comparison. This is the 2017 report that's just out now, and at the Governor's Challenge this year, the Lieutenant Governor called out a 4.4% increase in traveler spending, 2017 over 16. So for Warren County to come in at an increase of 4.3%, we're right on par with that. I have asked for a couple of other counties throughout the state, the Catskills and the Finger Lakes, to get a feel for how those regions are doing. I don't have those at this point. Some Google Analytics, our website, as you know, I've mentioned this a number of times, our relatively new website, so page views at over 2 million, sessions are approaching 1 million, and time that an individual is on site for a session, pretty close to 2 minutes, so that's a pretty considerable amount of time. One of our blogs that always performs well, Sherpas of the Lake, is Cruises on the Lake, which is something that anyone can do, so that's always popular at 32,000 page views. Revolution Rail just always comes up top in the searches. So in the case of Revolution Rail and Adirondack Nationals, Eric, who's in our department, is like our copywriter. So Ellen goes out and gets all the details on the events and the attractions, but Eric will go in and SEO optimize the text. So he knows what search words Google is looking for, and he'll kind of work them into that description. And I do think that helps in the search. So if someone types in Rev Rail or Adirondack Nationals, that our listings are coming up toward the top of the search. quick update on social media that we're doing really well. Facebook is certainly our #1 platform, up 18% from the beginning of the year. And we're trying to focus on Instagram a little bit more. That's where the younger audience is. We do have a campaign right now where we're asking folks to share their images, so hashtag my Lake George area. So if you have any images you'd like to share, we will use them perhaps on social media and perhaps in our travel guide. So we've gotten a really good response from that. And just overnight on Instagram we had 40 new people follow us. So I think just pushing that out there and giving people something new, hey, that's interesting, I've been to Lake George, I want to share my images, and I'm going to click and follow. So we're trying to grow that Instagram platform. I'd love to get up to 10,000 by the end of the year. Just a couple examples of our Facebook promotions. Largely we do promote our events. Sometimes it's organic, which means we don't put any dollars behind it, but we still have that reach of 277,000 followers. But sometimes we do put dollars behind it, so it could be our larger Tier 1 events, Americade, or the Wine and Food Fest, or it could be some of our Tier 2 events like Smoke Eaters or Lumberjack, where we're trying to increase the number of visitors to our smaller events. Just a couple examples of some of the photos that our Instagram followers have shared with us. Instagram is all about scenic beauty. So if I happen to put a picture up of someone or a family or an individual, you know, there'll be some likes, but if it's a scenic picture, through the roof. People are making, or they're starting to look for travel inspiration through Instagram. So, of course, everyone wants to go on vacation and take their pictures and show their friends where they're vacationing, and for that a little bit younger market, Instagram is the platform that they're on. Moving into our fall campaign. So our television campaign will start at the end of August. Again, our primary markets, the same as they typically are, the New York City DMO, Syracuse, Utica, Montreal, and Albany. I do have our fall television commercials to show you after I run through this. Digital, we'll have some banner ads and static ads that Peter will create, and we'll show those digitally, and we also show the 15 and 30-second videos online digitally that people can click and watch. Something new that we're trying this year is radio in New York City, WABC. The travel show with Pauline Fromer. If you've probably heard of Fromer's travel books, her father was Arthur Fromer, so it's a long-standing travel family. But her show is geared toward decision-making women in that demographic that is similar to ours, in the same age. So she will, there's an audio commercial that I'll play for you. There's also a short video. They have a website. They will post on their social media, both the audio and the video, and direct people to our website at visitlakegeorge.com. We don't do a lot of print in the fall. I do advertise in the AAA markets, our typical drive markets, and then we do get some reader service from that, and we'll send out a travel guide. And again, social media is typically, at this time of year, our event promotion. So, let me just show you, last time I wanted to show you the I Love New York commercial, and it was on YouTube, and I couldn't get the YouTube connection here, but I Love New York reached out to us, and they wanted to film on the Lake George Steamboat Company, so they were looking for a connection, and that's a large part of what we do. We're that liaison from the state to the county to the individual properties. So they came up and filmed at the Steamboat Company, and the commercial was part of their summer spot that's over now, but I do have the video here. You know, it's nice to leverage I Love New York dollars. So it was nice to be the lead-in on that commercial. So, our fall. Let's start with the video on demand. And this was all filmed last year. So that's the video on demand, which would not be on television necessarily. It's like well over a minute, so we wouldn't pay for quite that much airtime. But then there are 15 and 30-second commercials, family, couple, and what's the other one up there? Friends. So I'll just show you one. I kind of liked the couples 30.
Pulling that up, that closing was the county facility
Up beyond that. So I could show you the rest of them, but that'll just give you a little bit of an idea. You will see some of those if you're watching local television, because they'll air in the Albany market. And then the Pauline Fromer. So this, you'll only hear this if you were in New York listening to WABC radio, but again, the video will be shown on her website. It's included in an e-blast. In some of their social media channels.
Hi, I'm Pauline Fromer, and I love the Lake George area. Go to visitlakegeorge.com. It's never too soon to plan your next weekend getaway. Go to visitlakegeorge.com to plan your stay. The original vacation is calling.
So we provided our footage to Pauline, or to Fromer, and they put that together for us. So, just a couple of, different things to mix it up a little bit. Come back over here. We were at the track last week for Adirondack Day. If anyone happened to be down last Wednesday, the whole Saratoga Pavilion at the top of the stretch, this was coordinated by the Adirondack Regional Tourism Council. So within the entire pavilion, there were attractions from around the Adirondacks, but they were asking us to have kind of that Taste New York feel, and they invited track patrons. There were signs all around to come and visit us that day. So from Warren County, Paul and our office and Tanya were down there. There was a giveaway, and Paul's standing there asking people to sign up for the giveaway with some of our local products, and he had about 250 people enter, and I know he had 250 conversations with those people, but there were more people that ran through the pavilion. Nettle Meadow Farm was there with us giving samples, Adirondack Pub and Brewery. The Adirondack Folk School was there, and they were doing a demonstration of basket weaving, and then someone was doing a little wood carving. And Hidden Hollow Maple Farm was there giving samples. And then Fort Ty, the Wild Center. So it was very representative of the Adirondacks and just gave us a good chance to interact with the people and, hey, come on up the road, we're not far. Come back another time and visit. So it was very engaging that day.
And I didn't have anything to compare it against because I didn't attend last year, but Joanna said that the traffic was steadier than it was the prior year. So.
And Paul in our office hiked for the Lake George Land Conservancy's hike-a-thon, which they do every year. So he had the idea that he would take our banner to the top of the mountain, and then Carmel Heilman flies around and takes a picture, and it's just another fun thing, and I thought I would share that with you. The Adirondack Challenge, a handful of supervisors joined us on July 29th, and activities in Hamilton County with a Taste New York reception up at Gore Mountain. The Lieutenant Governor and about 350 state and local legislators were there, and it's just good to showcase all that the Adirondacks and the county has to offer. So again, leveraging that Adirondack connection and that I Love New York connection when all of these folks are visiting our area. So I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of the Welcome Center because it was part of the update after the Adirondack Challenge. The Chamber of Commerce gals are here, and they can fill you in on how they're involved with the Welcome Center. For our part at the tourism department, we were asked to provide, all of the top attractions for this map that when you walk in, and that'll be part of the floor, the images that you'll see around the center, some of the artifacts. We've reached out to our local attractions, whether it's the fort or a piece of garnet from the garnet mines. So there are a lot of different people that are involved in this, but I thought it'd be nice to see the images. They'll be opening in another, 4 weeks or so. So I'm sure Gina can speak to that, but things are really coming along if you're driving up and down the Northway. So an exterior picture and an interior. This is the map of, must-see attractions. Over here will be a selfie wall. I don't think it's going to be that winter shot, but something outdoorsy, maybe Gore Mountain. And then just images around the center to give you that feel of the Adirondacks. And then the Taste New York section that the folks at the Chamber are kind of organizing and getting local food to be in the vending machines, et cetera, et cetera. So that's most of what I have for an update. Things are looking good this summer. And I'm going to hand it over to Tanya for a couple of slides here.
So I only have 2 slides, but Joanne had mentioned the importance of social media and us trying to grow our Instagram. I met, this is an Instagram influencer. Her handle, so to speak, is Trusted Travel Girl, and she really focuses on women's solo safe travel. I was introduced to her by, I was using a local vendor, Promotions Plus, for another project, and she mentioned, well, my daughter, Valerie, she's a blogger, and I'm like, well, great, there's so many people that call themselves bloggers, but I'll take her name, and we found out that she has 141,000 Instagram followers, so that's huge. So we connected with her to come up and just for the day of adventure. She typically does a lot of out-of-the-country travel, bigger destinations, but she's very familiar. She's from Saratoga with our area, and she thought that it would do well. So she provided a pretty big discount because we were working with her mother, 65% off. And her deliverables will be, she's going to do 1 blog post, an Instagram story, and 2 posts on Instagram. So she'll be staying at the Sagamore. You can see a little example of her work there. She'll stay at the Sagamore. So anybody that offered a complimentary services, they will get some kind of recognition or exposure on the deliverables. But she's going to cover overall the Lake George area and what a great destination it is for families and solo travelers like herself. So that's pretty exciting. She will be up here next Tuesday. So I had to do the whole itinerary for her, which is always fun, but I think we're going to get a really good showcasing from Trusted Travel Girl.
So we're kind of moving away from that traditional media and FAMs where the writer will come up and I represent a publication and I'm going to write a story that will appear. First it was in the newspaper, then it moved to the website, and now we're moving into this social media sphere, and influencers are contacting us all the time. We did work with one influencer a couple of weeks ago, Penny Darling, came up for a week, and her family has a camp up in Bold Landing on Trout Lake, and she just loves the area. So she was only a couple $100, and I said, well, let's give this a try. So she takes pictures and she writes a blog story and she posts to Instagram. This gal, Penny had like 40,000 followers. Valerie has 140,000 followers, so her price is a little bit more. but we were like, ooh, we don't have a line in our budget for that, so she gave us a really good deal. But that's the way things are moving now, so we need to consider that in our budget for next year, and we'll kind of shift things maybe out of print a little bit and into some influencer marketing. Her? I don't know how old she is. I've seen a picture of her, maybe early 30s. But I think even Penny's in her mid-20s.
Yeah, she's a little younger.
Yeah.
I think
that market.
even the folks out that are providing, like she's going to go parasailing, she's going to do the zip line. I think even those suppliers, Warren County suppliers, recognize that they get a lot of bang for their buck if they do. You know, they hand them a couple of passes, but given that she has that many followers, that exposure is, you know, really important to them. So they've been really good about offering their services. So next is kind of blogger related as well. We were invited to go to TBEX, which stands for Travel Bloggers Exchange. It's going to be held in Corning in September. Break the Ice Media reached out to us because they were aware of our Go North program and they thought that that would be of interest. So I am going with Patrick Murphy of the Wild Center. We've come up with some tchotchke things like pens that represent Go North. That's our banner up there on the screen. So we'll be talking to about 45 social media bloggers about Go North over the course of 2 days, and then of course there's networking. But then 6 bloggers have been chosen by Break the Ice Media to come up and actually do the itinerary. So they'll be visiting Saratoga Springs, they'll be visiting Plattsburgh, Lake George, Tupper Lake, and Lake Placid, and kind of going through some of the activities that are on the Go North itinerary. So it'll be a 5-day FAM, and then again, they need to provide deliverables while they're here, doing posts on their social media, stories and things like that. So I'll look forward to next month kind of giving an update on how that went.
All right, the only comment I make, Joe and the team, you know, I'm thrilled to be sitting up here watching this team in the last 2 or 3 years. We've just, you know, and I really feel they work every day. I'm sorry there's not more business people here, but I know this is the time of year we all, same with myself, can barely get here. And I also want to mention Gina and Kristen Hanna from the Chamber. They've been excellent with us this year. They meet quite often. We're working together to help all this great news coming out, and I just hope it continues. And I appreciate all the work, Gina, that you're doing with us. You're an asset to the Chamber and a good help to our tourism department. I'd like to bring Mike up now because I introduced that because Mike's going to give us some good news about taxes.
Sure.
Good morning, everybody. This report has kind of scared me a little bit.
Unbelievable.
And it started about 6 weeks ago. We noticed this. And the last time I reported to you, I said we were up about 12 or 13% in occupancy tax. I was actually kind of hedging a little because it was a lot more than that. Now we've had about a 6-week run, and we're up 24% on our occupancy tax. That's $350,000 more we've collected this year than we did over the same period of time last year. 24%. Okay.
And I gotta make a comment because you know me, I always make comments. But we had somebody here last year about this time and was pushing us to get over 5% this year. If you remember, I promised them we were going to work hard to get over 5%, and we're up to 24. So it's all this, and what's doing it is all this social media, all the technology that we've gotten into in the last 2 or 3 years, and bringing on people that are employed with us now that know all this stuff, and we don't outsource it as much. We got away from trampoline, and we have a new guy in the office that's taking care of it, and and we can be hands-on every day with Joanne and the whole team, and they have their weekly meetings, and they plan out a week's worth of work, and they do it. So I'm very proud of them, and I know hopefully everybody will understand how hard they work. Mike, anything else?
Yeah, just one other thing. When we started seeing these numbers, I had all of my staff independently go through this to make sure that, you know, something wasn't askew with our collections and what we were getting, because it just, I mean, this is way above where we've ever been before. Yes?
Mike, how much, you know, when you look at $350,000 increase, how much is attributed to the new branded rooms in the market that came into the market over the last two plus years?
I really don't know at this point. We're still trying to figure that out. Hopefully, I will be able to give you that much more analysis when the new person that we've hired to work on occupancy tax will be able to give you that information. Right now, to be honest with you, I've been so scared of this figure that we've been checking the figures and checking the figures and checking the figures to make sure that we weren't doing something wrong. Hopefully by sometime in the next couple of months we'll be able to have that kind of an analysis of where it's coming from.
Any other questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Mike, just as you do that analysis, can you look at room rates, the changes in room rates versus
We don't get that
occupancy?
information.
You don't get that? We can't dive down into that?
No.
Could you cross-analyze with the STR report? Because that would have your average daily rate.
We could. I can look at that. But we don't get, I mean, we don't get a room rate from the places. All we get is, you know, this is how much that they've collected over the period of time that they report, whether it's quarterly or whatever, and this is what we pay in sales tax, this is what we pay in occupancy tax.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's any kind of information we can draw from this. Whether it's more hotels are reporting and providing, you know, the
Well-
tax, or whether people are doing it on time. You know, there's all sorts of reasons for a potential jump, and it'd be good to know where it's coming from.
Well, there's another thing that's happening here also. The last 2 years we've been doing desk audits, or we've been actually requesting the information from the properties to do desk audits, which is getting the information and we work on it in our office. Unfortunately, we haven't had the staff time to complete all of those audits, which is why we requested and was granted the permission to have basically a person to come in to do that. I think that has spurred a little bit of this, and I've really been hammering on enforcement. We've threatened several properties with liens if they don't come forward with what they owe. So we're starting to see more of that come in too. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think we're having a great summer, and my office is being a lot more proactive. I think it's a combination of both.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Chairman. And this as well, any money get from Airbnb and so forth and so on, because obviously we don't have any contracts with them. So, I mean, as rosy as that picture is, it's probably even rosier for occupancy tax. And the fact that the area is taken off. So I can't wait to see really when we do decide on a local law and so forth, really what the number is going to be with occupancy tax.
I would like to caution, don't get crazy. Thinking that we've got all this extra money in here, you know, this is...
I didn't say spend it.
I just want to make sure that, you know, that this, actually, this needs to be evaluated over about the next 12 months to see if this is sustainable or not, or if this is a one-time type thing that's happened. So that's why, you know, the person that we have hired who hasn't started yet is phenomenal at this type of evaluation. That's why we hired her. So I'm sure that, you know, by the end of the year, when she gets her feet on the ground, we're going to have some better evaluation information.
Mr. Dickinson.
I've often said any event you have in Lake George is almost totally weather dependent. The weather this year has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Village is packed every single... I go around it. Can't stand driving through the village. It is so busy everywhere, even the back streets.
Well,
and it's been that way all summer. It's been no let up.
Last Thursday or Friday when we had all those storms go through, that was the first real bad weather we've had all summer, and I couldn't get out of the parking lot here. It was backed right up from the outlet malls all the way down past Great Escape on Route 9. So there's people here, no question.
Well, that's the whole thing that I preach all the time. The people are here. That's our job, to get the people here and where they stay. That's their business. I mean, the campgrounds are full. I think, Kevin, you mentioned the other day to me, your campgrounds are, in this town, they want to grow, they want to expand more sites up in Bolton. And we got more Airbnb, which we're not even accounting for, and more private home rentals. So there's a lot going on. So the people are here, and they're spending money, and that's all great for us. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, we'll move on. So we, all right, we'll move to Kristen.
Mr. Chairman, first, if you don't
Yes.
mind, I just had a question for Joanne. Joanne, just for clarity, you mentioned some numbers that were 6% over last year's numbers. Is
The Smith trend.
STR.
Smith, yeah, STR.
Okay.
And you also mentioned somewhere after that, I didn't get it for sure, but it was like 4.3% over the year prior. And what I'm getting at is 6% sounds pretty decent. Have we ever had a 6% increase for the same time period?
So you might be referring to two different numbers. If it's 6% with Smith trend and 4.4 spending from New York State, so there's two
Okay.
different reports. We have had 6% increase in the past, but I would say it was a number of years back. In a single month, I don't know if we've had year-to-date 6% increase. That is a considerable increase.
So I guess what I'm
Month to
looking,
month.
what I'm looking for is more of, instead of comparing it to last year, because we are somewhat weather dependent, take a look at a few years back.
Sure.
Like a 5-year running average or something like that, just to get a better sense of where we are. Thanks.
Yeah, well, the answer to that, you're 100% right, and it's weather, but it's also, and again, I'm not praising this group because they do a great job, but it's the way we're advertising and the way we're getting out to people that we never got out to before. So once you start doing that also, which we didn't do maybe 5 years ago, but now it's being done in the last couple of years. So that makes a big difference too. I attribute a lot to that.
I don't know how we measure that and confirm that,
It's hard.
but, it's inherently
Hard.
obvious that there's some good things happening.
As long as it keeps coming in and the money comes in, it's all makes us all happy.
So I just went to Google, my fingers were crossed, I typed in Lake George, we came up first. That's because of the behind-the-scenes work that, whether it's ad workshop or whether it's Eric downstairs who's optimizing our text on our website, we come up first. Google recognizes us as the authority. We have detailed information, we have good information, we have long descriptions, and we have the right key and search words in there. So for me to go to Google and type in Lake George and come up first, how can that not work in our favor? LakeGeorge.com, and it bounces back and forth, but pretty recently, whenever I look, it's Visit Lake George.
Who owns LakeGeorge.com?
Sarah Manick, Manick's
Okay.
Marketing.
That's not the CVB then.
I think the chamber might be third, right there.
Well, what's up with that?
Well, it depends on how
Sorry.
much money you spend to get to that, right? Let's look at cost per click, and then we can...
All right, let's move on so we can, Kristen, would you like to give your report?
Good morning. There's no morning. For you, you'll find the July CVB monthly report. So as you can see, pace is staying steady. We sent out 5 new leads in July for a total of 1,203 new room nights. We had 1 booking for rooms from a team from New Jersey for the New York State Little League Girls U9 through 11 state championship. Came in for a total of 19 bookings year to date, and a total of 5,019 new guest rooms booked so far. You'll notice on there also we've added a new row called pending. These are leads that we've been sent out over the last few months. It's business that we're currently working on and waiting answers for. That totals right now. There's 24 pending out there right now for a total of 14,009 rooms. So quite a lot of business still out there in the pending side. An example of that would be, for example, if you flip to the second page, you'll see the ATRA U.S. Trail Running Conference, which is a bid put out back in the spring. It's been ongoing with their organizers. We've received all the proposals. They'll be making a decision in September for that particular event. Yes.
If there's any accounts in the room, if you were to add up leads and bookings, or leads on one side and bookings and lost business and pending on the other, it won't ever really match because we had pending business that rolled in from 2017. So you know that it's not going to be equal, you know, like debit and credit.
Thanks, Jen. Just so you know, too, this is also different from ongoing discussions, which you'll see further in the report for new business. And these are conversations, negotiations, exchanges of information between the CVB and meeting planners and the event's rights holders who are in the bid process or moving towards this process and gathering information. So this can take several months of discussion, relationship building, and information exchange before it actually turns out into an RFP or bid. So just so that you can kind of understand the process and procedure of what goes through in our office and just the difference in terms of the language and how we are working with various relationships and events rights holders. In this business, some things can take upwards of, 2, 3, 4 months to build that business, to get to that RFP process, for it to go out, then the decision process come through. But we are booking business further out, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years out into the marketplace. So it's important to kind of keep that in mind as you look at some of these numbers and sort of understand, where we're coming from that respect. July was also a very active month in terms of convention services, sales, and marketing. We attended the SBA Small Business Administration Matchmaker Expo in Albany, where we held 10 appointments with large corporations and government agencies to build more corporate business. That's a lot of that midweek business that we want to keep seeing coming in year-round. We provide referral services 5 times for various groups looking for venues for picnics, luncheons, waterfront dining, motivational speakers, and housing. And we also met with several sports events rights holders for new events, including the Primetime Oktoberfest, which is going to be coming in October 13th and 14th this year. And we hosted the East Coast Watercross planner on site for a site visit for a possible new jet ski race next year coming in the spring or in the fall. We're still working on those details. In addition, we also were working on some great marketing efforts in our office with our corporate and association e-newsletter that went out. Meet in Lake George, Southern Adirondack region, naturally, was the tagline. It was delivered to 1,761 people with an open rate of about 17% and a click-through rate of about 47. Again, pretty good numbers, and these are things that are ongoing. We also do these e-blasts in particular around showtime. I'll be heading out to Connect actually tomorrow for the rest of the week, meeting with meeting planners for specialty and for sports. So we do these e-blasts before these events that we go to sort of introduce ourselves, create some hooks, create some conversation, and then we also follow up afterwards with some post e-blasts as well, and then that follow-up. Speaking of sports, the area is still really seeing a lot of continued growth and great potential. We're thrilled to be working with the organizer on a bid to bring back the Federation of New York Public High Schools basketball for the next couple of years. We've been working closely with Kingpin Bowling, whose owners were just named as proprietors of the year, on a booked event, the USBC Women's Bowling Championship, which will be here next year for 5 weekends in a row from April 5th to May 19th. So that's 5 consecutive weekends from all the way April and May, estimating about 625 brand new room nights off of that event. The National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics for a championship bowling event in late March with another 146 possible room nights. The National Junior Collegiate Athletic Association's Bowling Championship in early March, about 10 or 20 teams, and then the Women's PBA Tour for 2020 and 23, with again dates still being determined. So a lot of bowling events coming into the area with Kingpin, which we realize is a little bit south of us, but they have 42 lanes and really great facilities, fantastic people to work with. So again, trying to build that business on those and that beyond that June through October season. So we're seeing that sort of push out, and that's really our mission here, is to try and get that business to push out further into the spring, into the fall, into the winter, and bring it year round. So hopefully we'll see these events backfill that time frame. We'll continue to keep looking at the calendars to see what makes sense for our region, our assets, and our space capacities. But the great thing here is that we are that guaranteed book of business. It's not weather dependent most of the time unless you've got full cancellations, rain out from a softball or a baseball tournament, but they usually reschedule. So again, meetings, conventions, sports business, it's guaranteed business booked years in advance. In other news, we're also continuing to work with the Adirondack Book School on the Chris Kindle Mart brand new event coming in December, the 7th through the 9th. Happy to report that actually we will have rack cards and posters available by the next meeting. Those have actually been produced, so thank you very much for your assistance from Lake Luzerne. We've seen some sponsorships come through. Price Chopper came in, and then our vendors are starting to send in their fees for their booths. So we're starting to see a few more vendors starting to come in, some food vendors, artisans, crafters, and really some great excitement on our Facebook page. It's all organic. We're not paying for anything. It's all purely just by volunteers and those of us that post. And we were up to probably close to 30 or 31,000 Facebook views at this point. We'll be pushing more into the late summer, fall, really trying to gear up for that and hopefully get some corporate sponsorships under our belts in the next month or so. We're working on about 90 days right now in terms of getting everything pulled together. In other news, the other large event that we're working on is the ATA event, the Adventure Travel Trade Association. Had some great conversations with those folks, and we are starting to build the Day of Adventures, which is their first day of their conference. About 15 to 20 to 25 full day and half day adventures in and around the area, so working with the local businesses and the guides to create those. Everything from forest bathing up north, which is walking in the woods, having a meditative moment, which they liked, all the way to hiking, whitewater rafting, rail biking, as Joanne was talking about earlier. We've got all these really cool, great, awesome things for adventure travel, and they are very excited to join us next year and have us showcase these. And then also working with our other DMO folks across the state to build the pre and post familiarization tours for the buyers and for the media. So they'll be hosting some a little bit downstate with some of our partners in Dutchess and Sullivan, in Albany, also up north, Plattsburgh and Essex and Hamilton and Lake Placid area. We'll be doing some hosts, and then we'll also be doing some of our own in conjunction with DEC and I Love New York. So a lot of great things going on. I'm heading out tomorrow to, like I said before, connect out in Salt Lake City to meet with specialty and sports folks. Got a little over 80 appointments in about 3 days, so busy, lots of speed dating and talking. But and then we'll also be heading out to Travel Media Showcase in September. And that'll be Amanda Metzger talking with various media and bloggers to talk about the area. So, any questions?
Mr. Wild.
Chairman, thank you. Kristen, thanks. I'm full support of what you guys are doing. I think it's novel and it's unique, and I think it's driving some good value. 5,019 room nights. What does that attribute to, and it might be more Mike, to OCTAX? What percentage by 24% is 5,000 room nights? Just for grants.
I couldn't tell you, I don't know, because I don't know how much those room rates are, and we don't have the room rates. The more rooms, the more money we're going to collect. The more times we run out of rooms, the more money we're going to collect.
Yeah, just curious, but do we have any idea what that amounts to?
Well, one thing that we have done, submitting is
$20,000.
on each piece of the business, our economic impact calculations on each piece of business. So it really depends on the piece of business. So for instance, one of these might have been a fraternal piece of business where their room rate might have been $109, and another one might have been $549 at the Sagamore. So we've done that on each individual one where we actually have to put in the room block and the room rate.
So you could give that to us, at least a sense of what you think the OCTAX has increased bit of this new business.
Well, but some of this business hasn't seen inflation.
Okay. Well, it's,
You know what I mean? So
I thought this is room nights to date, right?
yes, but it's booked business, so it might be a piece of business that's not coming until 2019 or 2021.
Right. These are new room nights looking ahead.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, what about 2018 year to date?
So some
So
of that
what
business
kind of
that we would've
impact you
booked
guys
this
have had
year,
this
we
year?
would've booked it last year, the year before.
We have
It's not included here. So we're working on business now for 20 later in the year, 2019, 2021. So things that are happening now, if we would book that, some of it we are helping immediately, but the bulk of it was booked a year or two ago.
We also do know what has been from January up to this point, what we have brought in terms of what events and what whether it's a meeting, a convention, reunion, sporting event, we do know what those are and what those room nights have been so far to date. We do have that in our office.
Right, and that was submitted to Joanne, to the county administrator.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd just like to maybe see if I can get that. It's just a measure, right? Not to say that it's good or bad, but it just gives us a sense in terms of some of the immediate value. Not the total value, but it's a portion of it.
Right.
And we
That's
have
about
that in
all
the
you can
spreadsheet.
get as a portion, because
Yeah.
like they say, some of these 5,000 rooms are not going to be booked until next year or the year after. So, and then some that we did 2 years ago are coming this year. So it's tough to really keep track of what everyone does.
It's just nice to know.
The bottom line is
right?
more important than anything else.
Right, but-
Exactly, and that's really what I'm looking for, is just that
But to
piece
answer
of
your
that
question,
text.
we do have that.
Good, thank you.
And we have provided that too.
By the spreadsheet.
Yep.
Gina, would you like to say anything about other than what Joanne said about the new tourism center?
Sure, the Adirondack Welcome Center, so it's scheduled to open sometime between September 15th and 30th. We don't have an actual drop-dead date, kind of hoping for the 30th, because, as you know, we're herding cats at this last minute now. So right now, we're fast and furiously working on our outreach within the farming community for the actual products that will go into the vending machine, as well as the customer service staffing. And the way that it dovetails, so Joanne has worked with I Love New York, so all of our people on the ground will need to be able to talk about, like if somebody is working on a touch screen, oh, we know all about the zip line and or Prospect Mountain, but then they'll also need to be able to talk about the products that are physically in the vending machines. And so our initial outreach began with the farming community from Washington County up through Essex and over to Clinton County. So we found a variety of really cool products in addition to maple products, everything from teas and jellies to Blackberry Farm has some meats that we might be able to put in there. And unfortunately, we had somebody say that they didn't want to participate, and that is Oscars.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we would be a whole.
Get up.
Yeah. So I mean, we would really. But there's no. It's really we buy all the product and then we sold. But hey, but we'll still be sending them there because that's still an attraction within our destination. So certainly everybody will know once it's opened, and then there'll be a special ribbon cutting with either the governor or the lieutenant governor, and then really it'll be on the boots or on the ground training of staff to know not only attractions but also each and every product that's in that vending machine because it relates to somewhere in our region. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you. Any other questions? We'll open it to any more
Mr. Chairman,
committee.
I do have one more, and this is more for Joanne and the STR report. I'm just curious, do we have a sense of what our percentage of unsold rooms are? So we've got a great year, this many rooms are occupied. What kind of ceiling do we have that we can go further with?
Let me go back, and I'm going to give you a comparison, so when I send it out
Okay.
with my report, and I'll go back X
Thanks.
number of years, the inventory has increased a little bit, but, so how many rooms do we have available, and how many are actually sold? I don't have, numbers.
Thanks.
right off the top of my
That's
head.
quite all right, but it just popped in my head. It'd be nice to know where our ceiling is, how close we are.
Yeah, just for the tourism department and for the chamber, we had to report that the hiking mapping program, the planning program is going live here in a little bit, and that you've been working with them. I would hope that we would be ready to assimilate that program into our site ASAP, and also that if you could bring it as far forward so you don't have to search for it, like recreation, hiking, and you got to go through 3 phases to get to it. It'd be nice if you could pull that hop up forward so that, if somebody's interested in hiking, bang, they see us, bang, they go right to the site. Because that's, right now, that links up with the, not only the work we've done, but the wonderful work that Liquor Land Conservancy has been doing around the county, really, hiking around the county. So I'd like to see that program go live just as soon as possible.
Thank
One
you.
thing that we found a map company, a guy out of Adirondack Lake who does waterproof maps, and he has our Lake George hiking and fishing, as well as Lake George boating map. It folds up. It will be in the vending machine. And then there's one for Lake Placid. And then there's also canoes. So we're really excited that we'll be the only welcome center that will have this kind of map because of this entrepreneur.
One other thing in terms of promoting for the welcome centers, and to also mention, I believe there's a wash station element that's been integrated into that whole program. So what we're also looking for as a region in welcoming people is giving them the opportunity to get the boats clean before they put them in our waters. So as you talk about the welcome center, you also mentioned that there's a wash station, inspection and wash station associated with that.
Yeah, and that will open in the spring, although we'll be talking about it in the fall as people come through with their heated stuff.
All right, anybody else? I saw a hand back there, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's interesting, the discussion you just had about the hiking maps in the area. I spoke before the summer with Joanne and Mike Coleman in IT about what I see as the need for maps, itinerary maps for families. And the chairman mentioned one of our jobs. You used the word our job, but I think you meant one of our big jobs is to get people here. And what they do when they get here, it's up to them. Well, now I'm speaking as a tourist, and it's very stressful when you go to a place and you have to figure out, now what are we going to do? When you've got kids and grandchildren hanging on you, what are we going to do today? We just took a northern New York State route, or a northern U.S. route to Utah. 2 weeks traveling through Michigan, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas to Utah. And there were places, I'll give you a specific place, Devil's Lake in North Dakota. Great fishing destination. They had a stretch of road similar to, I'm going to say, Wolf Road in Albany, or not quite like Quaker Road. Quaker Road isn't quite developed, but it went right through the place, to Devil's Lake. The downtown was 4 blocks away. The weekend we were there, the day we were there, they had a big street fair like Larac. I had to ask the restaurant, how do you get to downtown? There was no connection between the downtown and the major route. They had a national park or state park 10 miles away. They didn't have signage and maps saying, if you're visiting, this is what you should do. They had individual things. This is what's available, this is what's available. Nothing connected at all. We went to South Dakota, the southwestern area where there's Crazy Horse, Devil's Tower, Mount Rushmore, Custer State Park. They had a map which had color-coded. You want a day trip, take this trip. You want a day trip for historic sites. You want a day trip for the nature and wildlife trail, take Purple Road. That place was so busy, and you as a tourist, I was extremely comfortable saying, oh, this is what we could do. Now, I've mentioned that we have Warren County, but we also, as a region, are Warren County, Northern Territory, Northern Washington, Southern Essex. We need to look at this as a region. We have the beds here in Warren County. But the experience, as you mentioned earlier about the Instagram, it's a vacationer's experience. They come here, it's not just going to water slide. I'm here for 5 days. What are the different things I can do? Maybe saying, let's look at something else. We have a huge resource in Washington County. We've got the beds, but geez, send our tourists, go take a ride to Washington, through those cornfields of Washington County, pet some cows, back here to Lake George and have a good night, good dinner, sleep. We need to include all of the areas, and if we could come up with some, that's why I went to Mike Coleman, come up with something online, talk about what do I know? It comes up with some routes, a suggested route for the day travel for your family to Washington County, or historical route up in Essex County, over to, and they're always concentrating on Lake George, but how do we maneuver them in a route over to North Creek and Luzerne, Rehoboth County? Thank you.
Anybody else? I see another hand. All right, a motion to adjourn. Wild, Frazier. All in favor, aye, thank you.
Aye.
We should